Mojang versus Epic Games is genuinely starting to feel like a competition to see who can shit the bed the hardest. The two biggest gaming companies of the 21st century, both of them responsible for defining entire generations of players, are now struggling in ways that feel self-inflicted. If this were a race, Mojang would literally be standing still, while Epic Games is running in the opposite direction. Both approaches are different, but the result is the same: stagnation, frustration, and a loss of identity. And honestly, Minecraft is the clearest example of stagnation. In the first 5 years of its existence, the game evolved at an incredible pace. The core systems such as survival progression, redstone mechanics, enchanting, the nether, the end, all of these were introduced rapidly, forming the foundation that still carries the game to this day. These weren't just additions, they were systems that interacted with one another and expanded the depth of the gameplay. However, when we look at the last 5 years, that same level of meaningful development is largely absent. Let's go ahead and take a deeper look at what has been added in the last 5 years. Aside from Caves and Cliffs, which in of itself was delayed and split into multiple parts and took years to fully release, recent Minecraft updates have primarily consisted of smaller, disconnected features. These additions rarely build on existing systems or create meaningful change to how the game is played. Instead of expanding progression or introducing new layers of complexity, updates often feel cosmetic or just situational. Features like new mobs, minor biome variations, or niche mechanics do exist, but they do not integrate in ways that push the game forward.
But the dog looks like
Mojang has publicly stated that the Caves and Cliffs was extremely difficult to develop. They compared it to building a skyscraper with hand tools, and they have used that as justification for avoiding similarly large updates in the future. While the technical challenge of rewriting world generation is a valid excuse, this reasoning becomes less convincing when compared to the broader gaming landscape. Independent modders, often working alone or in very small teams, regularly overhaul Minecraft's world generation. They add new dimensions, redesign combat systems, and create complex progression paths without any of the financial resources or manpower available to Mojang. This contrast raises an important question. If smaller, unpaid teams can actually get the work done, why can't a Microsoft-backed studio make nearly as much progress? The issue becomes even more apparent when we look at specific additions, like copper armor for example. It just occupies an awkward space in progression. It is quickly outclassed by iron, making its practical use extremely limited. Instead of filling a meaningful gameplay gap, it becomes redundant almost immediately. And on the topic of copper, features like the Copper Golem add very interesting and unique concepts to the game. However, the Copper Golem lacks the reliability it needs to function as an automatic sorting system. Like, just look at this stupid Copper Golem. He has an item that's not in my sorting system, so he just malfunctions and just stops working. For a mob that was marketed as being the cure for trash monsters, it sure doesn't do its job at all. These features are not necessarily bad on their own, but they fail to contribute to a larger cohesive system. Minecraft has shifted away from expanding its core to simply just adding isolated features that don't provide anything for the survival experience. And simply no one is to blame but the developers. Now let's shift away from Minecraft and look at this other trash that's been plaguing the gaming space. In contrast to Mojang's cautious and lazy approach, Epic Games represents the opposite end of the spectrum: overcorrection and misdirection. Fortnite at its peak was one of the most dominant and innovative games in the entire world. Its success was built on constant updates, new mechanics, and a willingness to experiment. Weekly changes kept the game fresh, and its unique identity allowed it to stand out in the battle royale genre. However, over time, Fortnite's direction has shifted dramatically. Instead of focusing on its own world and mechanics like it should have, the game has become increasingly reliant on collaborations and corporate slop. While these collaborations generate short-term attention, they dilute the game's identity. Fortnite no longer feels like a cohesive experience. It instead feels like a platform for cross-promotional content. The originality that once defined Fortnite has been replaced with an ongoing stream of licensed editions of the game. And at the same time that this slop is diluting this originality, there are underlying technical issues such as desync, bugs, and gameplay inconsistencies that have persisted for years. And these are not just minor inconveniences, they directly affect the competitive gameplay and player experience campaigns. Despite this, they often appear to be lower on the priority list than new content drops or new monetization strategies for Epic Games. This disconnect between what players need and what the developers prioritize contributes to growing frustration within the Fortnite community. And there's literally no one to blame here but Epic Games themselves. Their recent business decisions have done nothing but complicate the situation. The company has implemented some insane layoffs. They cut roughly 20% of their workforce, including experienced developers who contributed to Fortnite's success, like the dude who made Jonesy. And at the same time, Epic has increased the price of V-Bucks, citing rising operational costs as the reason for it, which is kind of crazy considering the CEO himself, Tim Sweeney, was caught saying that they have billions and billions in the bank.
Now we're spending several $100 million a year more than we're making, which we can very well afford to do because we have billions of dollars in the bank.
And this creates a contradiction. If the company is financially stable, as previously claimed by Tim Sweeney, why are both layoffs and price increases necessary? Such decisions suggest deeper structural issues rather than just simple cost management. Perhaps the most telling shift is Fortnite's over-reliance on player-created content through creative mode. While user-generated content can be a strength, especially if you're Roblox, it has effectively become the primary driver of engagement. Many of these maps, however, are very low effort, repetitive, and heavily inspired by other platforms like Roblox. As a result, Fortnite is no longer being sustained by its own innovation, but by content that often lacks originality with AI-generated thumbnails. A game that once led the industry is now dependent on its community to maintain relevance. In the end, the point of this video is to try and say Mojang and Epic Games represent two different forms of failure. Mojang is overly cautious, lazy, hesitant to take risks, and focused on small incremental changes that fail to push Minecraft forward. Epic Games, on the other hand, is making aggressive but unfocused decisions, prioritizing short-term gains over long-term stability. One company is standing still, while the other one is moving in the wrong direction. Both approaches lead to the same outcome, a gradual decline in quality, identity, and player trust. For two companies that once defined modern gaming as it is, the current trajectory is not just disappointing, it's a clear example of how success can lead to complacency or just straight up mismanagement. Now let's talk about fixing. Fortnite is unfixable. Sadly, Fortnite is just too far gone, and it's too far gone because it's lost its core identity. It's no longer built around its own gameplay, it's built around collabs and monetization. Fixing it wouldn't just mean a better season, it would mean completely changing direction, which they're likely not going to do this deep in. At least Minecraft hasn't been running in the wrong direction, so they actually have a chance to fix this. If Minecraft actually wants to fix their issue, the answer isn't... The game needs something that actually changes how you play, not just something you look at once and forget. The easiest fix right now is the end dimension, because right now it's basically just kill the dragon, grab an elytra, leave. That's it. Adding real biomes, enemies, and progression to the end would instantly give it the late game purpose it needs. And it shouldn't just exist on its own, it should connect back into the rest of the game. New materials, new mechanics, stuff that actually matters outside of just one dimension. And honestly, in the end, Mojang just needs to take risks again. That's what made Minecraft good in the first place. Redstone, that at first was a risk. The Nether update, that was a risk. The end, when it was first added, that was a risk. Now everything feels safe and watered down. The game doesn't need more small safe features. It already has a bunch of them. It needs something big that actually shakes things up. And the difference here is Minecraft still has a chance to fix this. One strong update could completely change the direction of the game again. Fortnite, on the other hand, is probably too deep into what it's doing right now, and it probably won't fully recover.